Welcome to lecture 26 of the course CS213 Object Oriented Programming of the Cohort University of Science and Technology. In this lecture we will talk about the StringBuilder class and continuation of our discussion of strings and its operations. And the agenda of this lecture is to concentrate on the StringBuilder class. We may also continue our discussion of strings in the context of string tokenizer and regular expressions maybe in the upcoming lectures. The StringBuilder class has features of creating and manipulating dynamic string information, that is, creating modifiable strings. If we remember from our discussion of strings, we said that strings are immutable, that is, we cannot change the strings once they are declared. A string builder has a capacity, that is the number of characters it can hold, and a length, the number of characters it is currently holding. It has certain methods that we will see in the examples. Every string builder is capable of storing a number of characters specified by its capacity. If a string builder's capacity is exceeded, the capacity expands to accommodate the additional characters, and we will see this in an example with the help of some code. If the capacity is exceeded, the string builder is copied to a new location with more room. String builders are used to implement string concatenation, that is one use of the string builders. For example, whenever you say string s is equal to a string ab plus a string cd, Java creates a string builder containing the characters a and b, appends the characters c and d to it, and converts the result back to a string. Although this may not be very efficient, but it is fine if you do not overdo it. Unlike the string class, string builder class is mutable. It is changeable. It means that we can change the string builder class or the object of the string builder class. Use string builder class in operations where the string has to be modified. Since we do not or cannot modify the strings, we can use the string builder class to modify our strings. String builder has 4 constructors. We can see a couple of these constructors over here. We'll see the examples of the constructor in the lecture ahead. So we have a public string builder. It constructs a string builder with an empty string, and then we have a public string builder that takes one parameter, and it constructs a string builder with initial value of string or str, whatever the string object is. To look at some of our operations of the string builder class, we have public int length. It returns the length of the buffer, that is the object of the string builder class. Public synchronized void set character at int index character index replaces the character at the specified position. Set length truncates or extends the buffer. So if n is less than the length, s1 is truncated, else zeros are added to s1. That it means that it specifies the length of our string builder object. Then we have an append method, appends the string to its string buffer or the object of the string builder class. We have append that can append an integer. We have can append float values, character values, etc. to our string builder. We can insert a string in the middle of existing string builder. So if you are given an object of the string builder, for example in this case we have a string builder object with a value, and we may convert it to a string using the toString function and read the position of, let's say, this place into a variable, integer variable. And what we want to do is we want to insert a new word at this position. So this string builder object will now become object oriented language. So we can insert into a string builder at any position that we want. So you can try and put this code. What will be the output of this following code, where we are trying to add a string builder object to an existing string, and what will be the string after executing or modifying the character. So for example, if you want to change the character at a certain position in the string. String builder constructors. So we have a constructor. It constructs a string builder with a capacity of 16 characters. So the default capacity of the string builder object is 16, and we may specify the capacity. Instead of the default capacity, we can specify the capacity, and that then becomes the capacity of the string builder. Constructs a string builder object with the requested capacity. Then we can initialize the string builder to a string. Constructs a string builder containing the string str. If you look at the constructors of the string builder, we can see that we have a constructor that takes no parameters, and it will initialize this object to the default capacity, and it is an empty string builder object. This one will initialize the string builder object to a capacity of 10, so it will deprecate the default capacity from 16 to 10, and this one will be initialized to a string hello. This is a simple demonstration of how we can initialize our string builder objects. So the buffer1, or the first object, is an empty string builder with the default capacity of 16. The second one is an empty string builder with the capacity of 10, and the third one has a value hello in it. We can also look at these example applications of the different methods associated with the string builder. For example, we have a string builder object that is initialized to a string hello, how are you? So what we want to do is we want to print this string builder in the form of a string. We want to print the length of the object, and we want to know the capacity of the object, the default capacity of the object. What we can do is we may be able to ensure capacity to up to a certain limit for our object. So if we provide it like ensure capacity, we call the method ensure capacity, and we pass the size of the capacity in the form of an integer value, then it will ensure that our object has this capacity. We can also specify the length using the setLength method, and what will happen is whatever the length of our string builder object is, that will be either increased or decreased strictly to this number. And even if we increase the length later on, we would have lost the information that was there due to decreasing the length of our string builder object. The default for a string builder initial capacity is 16 characters. Let's print this one and see what are the default numbers. So If you look here, this is our buffer, that is the object of the string builder class, and the value stored in that. The length of the object is 16, the capacity is 35. So if you guess, the default capacity is 16 and the length of our builder is string builder object is 19. So the default capacity is added to the length of the string that is already there. So if you remember from our previous example where we used the constructor, three constructors, the first one was initialized with the default capacity and the capacity for that would be 16. The second one was initialized with 10 and we would force the capacity of that one to 10. But the third one was initialized with a string and no capacity was provided to that. So what happens is when we do not provide, for example, as you can see over here, we do not provide the size of the capacity, then what happens is it will add the length of this string to the default capacity, and that will now be the capacity of this object. What we can do is we can enforce or ensure a certain capacity. So in this case, the capacity of this object is 75. We can also set the length of our object. So you can see that the length, once the length of the object is set to 10, and if we print this value, we can now see that it has the content of our object have been reduced to 10. As you can see over here, if you print hello how, the rest of the information has been lost. We have lost the rest of the details from our string builder object. If you increase the length of this object, what happens is the information that we have lost once, we cannot restore it, and the reason for that is that string builders are not immutable. They are changeable, they are updatable. We once we change an object of the string builder class, the change is updated to the object. So it is, as opposed to the string objects, the string builder object will be changed. To look at an example of how we can insert into an existing string builder object, we have this code where we have different objects and variables with different data types. So for example, we have an object of the object class that is initialized to a certain string. We have an object of the string class. We have an array of characters. We have a boolean value, a variable with a boolean value. We have a variable with a character value. We have an integer with an integer value. We have a long value, and we have a float value variable, and we have a double value variable. What we do is next is we create an object of the string builder class with the default capacity. Now the insert method, as we saw in our slide, what we can do is we can pass the position where we want to insert our object or variable into the string builder object. So what we are doing over here is that we will insert this hello at the very beginning of our string builder object. Here we are inserting two spaces at the start of the buffer or the object. Here we are inserting the string object at the start of our string builder object. Again we are inserting two spaces, then we are inserting the character array that we initialized over here. followed by a spaces again, a double space again, followed by part of the character arrays starting from position 3 up to position 3. We are then inserting the boolean value, the character value, all are separated by the spaces, the integer value, the long value, the float value, and the double value. What would happen is, for example, we have inserted this object at position 0, then the cursor will move to the position 0 again and put a space before this object, and when we insert this string, it will insert a string, the string before this space. So we will be pushing these values one by one or by two spaces, and by the new objects are variables that we are inserting into our string builder object. So the output of this code should be, for example, this should be displayed at the end of our string builder object, then it should be preceded by this double space, then it should be preceded by the string, and we will then insert a double space before the string. This one should be, the double value should be at the start of our string builder object, followed by this one, the long value, followed by the integer value, all separated by a space. So let's look at the output. As I said that, for example, this has been inserted at position 0, then what we do is we insert a space or double spaces before this hello, and we are inserting all of our objects and variables at the very beginning of our string builder object. And as we can see that we are pushing our earlier objects and variables down the line, and these are being replaced by the new variables and objects that we are inserting into our string builder. So this was the double value, then we have the float value, this was the long value, the integer value, the character value, the boolean value, this was the part of the character arrays we can see over here, and this one is the character array inserted over here, and this one is the string, and this one is our object or object of the object class. We can change the position, or we can decide wherever we want to insert. For example, if you want to print the goodbye after the hello, you can change this position, let's say, and maybe if you print this again, you might be able to change the positioning of our objects and variables in the string builder object. As you can see now, goodbye is now coming after the hello. So the first argument decides the position or passes on the position where we want to insert a certain object or a variable, and the second position is the exact object or the variable that we pass on to. Here in this case you can see that we are also passing the index or the positions of the part of the character array that we want to insert at this point.